Hello and welcome. I'm Peter, and we're here to make progress, not perfection. But on that way to progress, we need a little help in learning a new character. So today, I'm here to give you the general rundown of Armor King. We're gonna go over his strengths, weaknesses, punishment tools, and key moves. This is gonna be a broad rundown, so I'm not gonna go in depth about every little tiny aspect of the character. I think for beginners and intermediates, it's more important to go over the fundamental things and not the niche situations. All right, let's go. Let's talk about strengths, and first up is none other than his throw game. Armor King has a complete throw game. He's got a 1, a 2, and a 1+2 command throw. His 1 and his 1+2 command throws are incredibly difficult to differentiate between, essentially making it a 50-50. On top of that, this bad boy's got chain throws. Now, despite being categorized as a grappling character archetype, Armor King happens to be gifted with some of the best generic attacks in the game. He's got a standard 10-frame jab, a 13-frame mid-poke, 15-frame hop kick, and even a 12-frame mid-poke. Okizeme is another area that Armor King truly excels at. Whether it's from a strike or a throw, Armor King has strong Oki setups that either lead into more potential damage for him or plus frames for him. On knockdown, opponents oftentimes will need to guess in order to avoid more damage. And on that topic of damage, Armor King has got some of the most damaging combos in the game, hands down. He hits like a truck whenever he lands one of his launchers. Armor King also, unlike some of the other characters in the game, he really doesn't need walls in order to get his damage. He can do well with or without walls. Lastly, Armor King has excellent whiff punishment. His primary two whiff punishment tools, Dark Upper and Forward 2-1, both have great range, speed, and damage. Coupled with his high combo damage, Armor King can really capitalize on whiffs. So those were the strengths. Now on to the weaknesses. The first and most obvious one is his weakness, the sidestep right. The majority of Armor King's attacks can be avoided with sidestep or sidewalk right. A good opponent will exploit this aggressively, making it really hard for Armor King to land hits. Another hallmark, or you could call it weakness of Armor King, is his terrible while standing punishment. Most cast members in the game have an 11-frame and a 13-frame while standing attack. Armor King, on the other hand, lacks anything substantial until you get to the 15-frame mark where he gets a hop kick from crouch. Low attacks are another area that Armor King kind of struggles with. Now, Armor King does have good low pokes, but they aren't the most rewarding low pokes in the game. The more rewarding lows that he does have are either slow, risky, or both. Now, there is an initial execution curve when learning Armor King. Executing wave dashes quickly and accurately on command can be something that beginners really struggle with, or executing dark uppers very quickly to whiff punish an opponent. Techniques such as instant shining wizard from wave dash or giant swing from wave dash. These are all techniques that take time to master. Last but not least, Armor King has a difficult game plan. While the premise of poking and throwing is a super simple game plan to understand, Armor King requires players to have very solid fundamentals. His game plan revolves largely around block punishment, creating whiffs through good movement, capitalizing on those whiffs, and then conditioning the opponent to doing what you want them to do. And here we are at block punishment, starting off with standing punishers. For 10 frames, Armor King has 2-1. It gives good frames on hit and on block. Because it's only -1 on block and is a high mid, there's very little risk in throwing this attack out. Hell, you could even use it as a poke if you want. At the 12 frame mark, Armor King has back 1-2. There's not a whole lot to be said about this move. It has pretty average damage, but has really good range. For minus 13 attacks, Armor King gets forward +1/+4. His shoulder, it knocks down, wall splats, and breaks balconies. Armor King's shoulder has the best range when it comes to 13 frame punishers in the game. It can even punish attacks with really heavy pushback. And at 14 frames, Armor King has two options: down back 2/4 and dark upper. The most reliable and recommended option here is down back 2/4. It grants good damage with massive plus frames on hit. But if you happen to have godlike execution, well, I suppose you could use dark upper here. This requires frame perfect inputs. For 15 frame punishers, Armor King has two options: up forward 4, his hop kick, and forward 2/1. For attacks that leave the opponent reasonably close to you, use hop kick. For anything with any sort of pushback whatsoever, it's probably safer to just stick with forward 2/1, since as we know, hop kick can have range issues, even after the Season 4 buff to it. Also, forward 2/1 wall splats and breaks balconies. Armor King also happens to have a niche 16 frame block punisher, back 3. For attacks that have pushback, forward 2/1 usually is enough to get the job done. However, if you want more damage, back 3 is definitely the way to go, since it allows for you to get a guaranteed shoulder follow-up afterwards. Now on to while standing punishers. At the 11 frame mark, Armor King has just a generic while standing 4. It is one of the best 11 frame while standing attacks in the game, granting a chunky 20 damage on hit. Note, however, this will also be your 12, 13, and 14 while standing punisher as well. So get real comfortable with this. As a 15 frame while standing attack, Armor King has hop kick from crouch, while most of the cast has a universal while standing option that's 15 frames or faster. Armor King does not. There will be a little bit of a learning curve to use hop kick to punish minus 15 lows if you're not already used to this. While standing 1 is Armor King's while standing launcher, and it comes in at 16 frames. There's nothing too special here to know about this attack. Moving on. For minus 23 or super heavily minus on block low attacks, Armor King's best punish is his generic delayed hop kick. Again, nothing special here, just a universal option. Alrighty, time to go over key moves, and first up is down forward 1. This is Armor King's primary mid poke. There's nothing special about this attack, it's just your run-of-the-mill down forward 1. Comes out in 13 frames, is -1 on block. Use this to annoy the opponent, scout out their tendencies, and keep them in check. For a slightly faster mid poke, Armor King has access to a down forward 4. Use this attack to poke the opponent from around a mid range, create some space, and to elicit a response from them. Be aware though that both of these attacks, down forward 1 and down forward 4, have the same weakness of being vulnerable to sidestep right. Back 4 is a good power mid that can lead to some chunky damage. On hit, pressing 1+2 leads into a guaranteed stunner for 35 points of damage. The Oki after the stunner is extremely good as well, since Armor King is at plus frames to enforce a mix-up afterwards. Even on block, this attack, well, isn't too bad since it's safe. However, the main pitfall of this attack is its linearity to both sides. To help with Armor King's weakness to sidestep right, he's got forward 3. This attack is one of the few attacks that covers his weak side. If the opponent is constantly stepping or walking to the right, make sure to check them with forward 3. The attack is only -3 on block, which means that even when it is blocked, you still have the option of sidestepping incoming attacks. Forward 3 also comes with extensions. Use the extensions every now and then to keep the opponent from mashing after forward 3. The last hit is duckable, but it's completely counter hit confirmable if the first hit is a counter hit. Use the big red hit spark to help you confirm a counter hit. Next, we're going to talk about Armor King's low pokes, down 3 and down 4. Down 3 is a fast plus on hit low poke. On normal hit, it gives you only +1 frame. However, on counter hit, it grants you a fantastic +9 and a unique animation letting you know that, hey, you just got a counter hit. And at +9, well, you basically can do anything you want really. Down 4 is a fast, medium range low poke that high crushes and leaves Armor King in full crouch afterwards. Use this attack to annoy the opponent who overly relies on high attacks and to chip away, of course, at the opponent's health. Note that this attack is -2 on hit, which means typically you shouldn't use this as an offensive tool. It's not traditionally meant for that purpose. However, this attack does track very well to both sides. To continue on from the low pokes that we just talked about, we have more rewarding and more risky low attacks, such as down back 3 and forward neutral 2. Down back 3 is a high crushing, slow low attack on normal hit that leaves Armor King in full crouch with +5 frames. Here we're guaranteed a while standing 4 or a while standing 2 check to see if the opponent is pressing buttons. On counter hit, this attack becomes a full-on launcher with some good damage. Just be careful not to overly use this attack as it is a stagger low and it's borderline seeable. Forward neutral 2 on the other hand is another risky yet rewarding low attack. This attack can be used as an approach tool or as a hard call out for opponents who seldomly duck lows or refuse to duck lows. On hit, Armor King is at a hefty +7 frames, and on counter hit, well, you get a full combo. And just like down back 3, forward neutral 2 is launch punishable by the whole cast if it is blocked. For more approach tools, Armor King has his Shadow Lariat and forward 2, his Demon Paw. Shadow Lariat is a high plus on block attack that knocks down on regular hit. From a distance, you can get a combo from this attack. When done up close, however, this only allows for a guaranteed follow-up of forward 4 into another forward 4 for plus frames. The tracking of this attack is very, very good. Its main weakness, however, is that it's a high and the whiff recovery is bad. Don't get predictable when using this attack. To account for the fact that Shadow Lariat is a high approach tool, Armor King has forward 2, which is a mid. On hit, it knocks down. On block, it's safe. And at the wall, it splats for a full combo. Unlike Shadow Lariat though, the tracking on this attack is not as good. It can be sidestepped to his weak side. As far as homing attacks go, Armor King's best one in my opinion is probably forward 3. This bad boy has good range, is +2 to +4 on block depending on the distance, and launches on regular hit. However, similar to Shadow Lariat, this attack is a high unfortunately, and the whiff recovery is not good. If you don't feel like using a high homing attack, no problem, we got you covered. Down forward 2 is Armor King's fastest tracking attack and it hits mid. It starts up in 15 frames. On normal hit, you get some plus frames, no big deal. But on counter hit, you get a full combo with a down 3 +4 1 as your pickup. Use this as you would with Kazuya's down forward 2. Just be aware, just like Kazuya's, it's not safe on block. Use it when you have a hard read that your opponent is going to sidestep, but you don't know which way. Back 1 +2 is Armor King's Shove. It does no damage by itself, but it is +1 on block, +5 on hit, and a massive +16 on counter hit, granting guaranteed follow-ups. For the easy up follow-up options, he has back 1-2 and forward 2-1. For harder follow-up options, he has Dark Upper, granting him a full launch on counter hit. This attack can be used anywhere a jab would reach. It's also an effective tool to kind of bully your opponent. The most important thing, however, about back 1 +2 is learning how to confirm when the attack is a counter hit so that you can get the most out of the follow-ups. Next, we're going to talk about 3 panic moves. First up is back 1, and this is the most rewarding option he has. It comes out very quickly, is safe on block, and grants a full combo on counter hit. You can use this as a fast get off me tool, frame trap catch, or as a hard read or call out on the opponent. Think of this as Armor King's magic 4, if you will. Back 1 +4, straight arrow. Oh boy, if there was ever a cheap move that Armor King has, this is it, boys. This is it, straight arrow. It's an evasive sidestep strike with some backswing blow added in, and a sprinkle of low crushing because he lifts his goddamn feet off the ground. The attack is minus 13 on block, but most of the cast cannot reliably punish this because of the massive amount of pushback he has on it. Use this when you want to avoid pressure from the opponent, or you can use it to slip out of certain strings so that you don't have to take the mix-up. Last but not least, we have down 1-4. This is a 10 frame high crushing string that gives you good frames on hit. This attack can be used to steal your turn back from minus frames, especially against opponents who overly rely on high attacks. Think of this as a dick jab that leaves you standing and gives you more damage. Be aware, however, that this string is not safe on block. But it's only minus 10 on block, so why not throw it out every once in a while? Now for some throws. I've gone ahead and selected 3 throws, each with unique breaks. For his one break, we have Giant Swing. While the motion of this attack is one of the more complicated moves in the game, it's completely bufferable. Also, Giant Swing is one of the few throws in the game that comes out in 10 frames. AKA, it comes out pretty fucking fast. This attack is very flexible with its uses, whether it's teched or not teched. This allows Armor King to switch sides. This is invaluable, especially if you're trying to escape the wall. Also, the damage on this thing is insane, especially if your back is against the wall. For his 1+2 break, we have the Stone Cold DDT. Hell yeah, this throw switches sides unless it's broken. If the throw lands, you're guaranteed a Wake Up 3 as a follow-up. And because of this guaranteed follow-up, it makes the Stone Cold DDT above average damage when compared to other command throws in the game. Last but not least, we have his 2-break throw, Tombstone. Oh boy, when it comes to damage, Tombstone is it. It does a grip of 58 points of damage on its own, and it floor breaks, allowing for ridiculous damage afterwards. Oh, and silly me, we haven't even talked about Armor King's Rage Drive yet. This is a high tracking, unblockable attack. Armor King spits in your face and gains plus 24 frames. While no attacks are guaranteed here, throws, on the other hand, are a completely different story. The opponent cannot break or duck during the stun animation. This allows you to get a guaranteed throw of your choice. My recommendation is to go for Tombstone, unless your back is to the wall. Then go for Giant Swing! Oh, insane damage. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for sitting through this. If you made it to the end of this video, please type in the comments Stone Cold DDT. And yes, I realize it's not actually Stone Cold DDT, it was an inside joke, so I ran along with it. This is my beginner's guide, and it's not meant to be a comprehensive guide on Armor King. It's enough for a new player or an existing player to kind of pick up the character, understand what the key moves are that they should be using, kind of how to approach the character, assess his strengths and weaknesses, and, well, just to get some games with the character. I know I left out a lot of stuff. I didn't talk about Shadow Step, didn't talk about some of the other attacks that he has in the game. For instance, his down forward 1+2, or, you know, his down 2 attack. There's a lot that I didn't cover, but, you know, I feel like the things that I did cover were the essentials for the character. Well, until next time, thanks guys. Thanks for watching guys and joining me on this video. Also, thank you so much patrons for your ever so gracious support. Without you, this would have not have been possible. And if you're new here and you like what you see, consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification icon. Below in the descriptions, as always, I also have my links to my Discord, Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon page. See ya next time.